Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to RoboMania, the Halloween event. I am your host, Game & Soy, and we have 4 total fights today, 8 different robots. This episode is going to be insane. We previously had 4 robots move on into this current round from the qualifying round, and now there is a total of 16 robots that remain in the tournament. There weren't really a lot of big standouts in the previous round, but if I had to choose one, that would be Reaper. Reaper finished its fight against the Grim Reaper with a beautiful knockout blow that left it sitting on its side in the corner of the arena. We will not be seeing any of those robots fight in today's episode. We will be seeing 8 completely different robots that will fight together, and only 4 will move on into the next round. Before we get into anything, let's take a look at the rules of the arena. Each fight will be a total of 3 minutes long, including main events and championships. Each minute, the judges will award the winning robot a total of 10 points, while the opponent receives 9 points or fewer, depending on the dominance of that minute. The judges will base their scorecards on damage, control, and aggression, which means a robot must follow all 3 of these criteria in order to win. In order for a robot to win a fight, it must destroy, immobilize, or eliminate the opposing robot before the fight timer is up. If the fight were to end after all the time is up, then it will go to a tiebreaker where the judges will determine a winner based off of their scorecards. There are 4 total ways to win a fight in RoboMania. A robot can knock out the opposing robot, which means it completely destroys the opponent and prevents it from working. A robot can win by technical knockout or TKO, which means it can simply prevent the opponent from moving for a total of 10 seconds of the in-game timer. A robot can also win by elimination, which means it can punt or flip the opposing robot over the arena walls and out of the arena. If a robot can't complete either of these finishes before the fight timer is up, then the judges will take over from there and declare a winner. The qualifying round is over. The first round is about to begin. Let's jump into the first fight of the night. For our first fight of the night, we have a pair of 2 spinners that will go together. Stinky Gangster will look to take on Trypophobia in a match that will excite in a horizontal versus vertical spinner fight. And for our first fight of the night, we have a tale of 2 spinners, the 8 versus 9 seed, Stinky Gangster, Trypophobia. This fight is the closest fight in the tournament thus far, hence the 8 versus 9 fighting out of the red square. We have Trypophobia. This robot is the fear of stripes. I don't have the fear of stripes, but if you do, I am sorry, because this robot is very stripy. It has a very powerful spinning blade, and it'll be going up against Stinky Gangster, a robot that looks like a cat. It looks like a cat smoking a cigarette. Let's just be honest here. This fight is an overhead spinner. It is... You guys have to see what it looks like when it actually spins up, because it's weird. 3, 2, 1. Let the matchup begin between Stinky Gangster and Trypophobia. Trypophobia's wedges are immediately getting hit off, but it's getting underneath Stinky Gangster now. And I think it's trying to slow down that spinning blade. I thought the glasses were originally going to spin on Stinky Gangster, but it is not the case. The whole body is spinning, and it is actually doing a lot of damage against Trypophobia right now, while Trypophobia is trying to just keep that pressure to make that disc not be able to spin as quickly. And it lost all of its wedges already, and the front right wheels are all completely gone as well. Stinky Gangster is trying to stay stable currently while it keeps getting hit, and Trypophobia is actually getting underneath it. There's a lot of fire, but don't be alarmed. It is actually designed fire by Stinky Gangster coming out of that self-righting stick on top, which I'm just going to be calling the cigarette because it looks like a cigarette. We got 2 minutes left in the fight, and it seems like Stinky Gangster is keeping control of this fight, trying to just knock away Trypophobia so it doesn't proceed to just do damage. But it is keeping a lot of control. It is being aggressive in this fight. It keeps turning around after it gets hit and just keeps ramming back into Stinky Gangster, just hoping to get that one knockout blow that it can get. And it seems like Trypophobia is stuck now. The countout has begun. Can it get out of it? 5 seconds left, and it gets out. It was stuck on a part of its own robot, actually. And now this fight continues with about a minute left in this fight, and Trypophobia gets flipped on its back. I do not think it can self-right right now. I'm not sure if it has a self-righting mechanism, but it definitely is not working, and that spinning disc is getting slowed down as well. This is Stinky Gangster's chance to capitalize and to get a knockout blow, perhaps. The robot is trying to survive, but can it do it? 40 seconds left in this fight, and Trypophobia is still upside down on its head right now. Stinky Gangster is chipping off, trying to just get to the side, trying to do some damage. Can it do the finishing blow? There goes a wheel, and it is trying its best to finish the fight. Trypophobia is trying to survive at this point, and it does not want to go to the judge's decision. I do not believe, at least. It is being completely dominated in this fight, especially since it got flipped upside down. 10 seconds left in this fight. Let's see if we get a quick finish before it goes to the judge's decision. And we will not get the final hit that will end it all. This is going to a judge's decision. A very, not a close fight, but an interesting fight. Trypophobia tried so hard to just keep that pressure, to do damage, to be aggressive. But it did not work out once it got flipped upside down, and it was losing a lot of its wedgelets in the process of being aggressive. Stinky Gangster looked good. It was playing more of a defensive fight, in my opinion, but it still managed to win. It got out of the being stuck on its own thing, and there it goes, being flipped on its head. And that's where essentially the fight was over for Trypophobia. And that is where Stinky Gangster, in my opinion, won the fight. While we wait for the judges to make their decision, let's take a look at the statistics of this fight. Now, the 1 minute that really caught me off guard was the very first minute. Trypophobia actually got dominated in that minute, but as you can see, it had a flip and 3 pins on top of being completely damaged. I'm not sure if the judges will mark that in favor of Trypophobia or in the favor of Stinky Gangster. That was the closest minute in my opinion. The other 2 minutes were pure dominant minutes in my opinion as well. Stinky Gangster should win this fight, and I am also getting word that the judge's decision is in, so let's see who won. Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 minutes, we go to the judges' scorecards for their decision. All 3 judges scored this contest 30-26 for the winner by unanimous decision, Stinky Gangster. And with the judge's decision being read, Stinky Gangster will move on into the second round, our first robot that has made it into the Elite 8. It will be fighting the winner between the Reaper and Devil for Detail. Either way, in my opinion, it has a tough schedule ahead of it, but as the number 8 seed, you have to almost expect that. There was really no damage taken by Stinky Gangster, so I'm actually excited to see how it'll fare against more difficult opponents in the future. And I guess we're gonna have to see when its next fight comes up. For our second fight of the night, we have a tale of 2 spinners that will go head to head. Death by thumpKIN and Iron SPOOKI will collide together to see who will move on into the second round. And here we go, our second fight of the night. We have the 5th seed going up against the 12th seed. Death by thumpKIN and Iron SPOOKI will go head to head to see who will move on into the second round. To be with Stinky Gangster. Fighting out of the red square, we have the 12 seed Iron SPOOKI. This robot has a very, very powerful weapon. My only concern is it burns out really fast. So we're gonna have to see a quick finish for Iron SPOOKI in order to win. It will be going up against Death by thumpKIN. This robot is terrifying. It has been taking a lot of notice on the Discord, and we are about to see its official debut against Iron SPOOKI, and I'm very excited for this fight. 3, 2, 1, Let the matchup begin between Death by Pumpkin and Iron Spooky, and immediately the weapon has been built up by Iron Spooky, which is not good for Death by Pumpkin, but Death by Pumpkin hits hard. It hits really hard, and it took off the wedge of Iron Spooky, and it is out of the arena immediately. One of the quickest matches in RoboMania history, and just like that, Death by Pumpkin, winner by elimination. I didn't even have a chance to set up this fight, and it was already over. Iron Spooky punched out of the arena. Death by Pumpkin, winner by elimination. And with a very quick elimination, Death by Pumpkin will move on into the second round. And just for everybody to know, Death by Pumpkin has tied the quickest finish in RoboMania history. It sits at number 1 alongside with Steel Drifting with 22 seconds for being a winner. So congratulations to Death by Pumpkin in its debut, already setting records. It will be going up against the winner of Blood Spangled Banner, and it's a spooky month. It's a spooky month, defeated Little Goblin in the qualifying round. So this is going to be a very interesting match to see build up, because right now Death by Pumpkin looks fantastic. I'm not sure if Iron Spooky was just designed how it was and it just lost because of its design, but Death by Pumpkin completely took over that fight and dominated from square one. For our next fight of the night, we have another tale of vertical spinner versus horizontal spinner. thumpKIN will take on hellspawn in a match that should excite. Both robots are being projected to do very well in this tournament, while only one can win. And for our third fight of the night, we have an amazing matchup, the 7th seed versus the 10th seed. This is thumpKIN going up against hellspawn. Both of these robots, I love their designs. Let me just say that to start out. Fighting out of the red square, we have hellspawn, a vertical egg beater, vertical spinner. I absolutely love the design of this robot. It is not the fastest, but it will definitely punch a robot out of the arena at any time. It will be going up against thumpKIN, a ring spinner robot that dishes out a lot of damage with those very huge teeth that just bite into the opposing robot and sends them flying. This fight should be very fun. 3, 2, 1, let the matchup begin. thumpKIN, hellspawn, and thumpKIN immediately goes flying, courteous to hellspawn, while hellspawn gets knocked on its head and it is upside down now. thumpKIN is now in control of this fight if thumpKIN can figure out where to go, and hellspawn almost hit out of the arena, but it somehow survives and stays within the limits. Nathan Silver has built this robot, and it is known, his robots are known to put on performances, so I'm excited to see what happens. But currently, hellspawn is being completely dominated. Its wheels are knocked off, it's upside down, it's actually self-righted now, but can it cause some damage? The wheels are completely missing. I think it only has one wheel left on the entire robot, and thumpKIN is going to dinner right now, just chewing the sides and the chassis of hellspawn, causing a lot of damage. We got 2 minutes left in this fight, and I don't know if this will actually end up going the distance based off of how thumpKIN is performing currently. hellspawn is put up against the corner of the arena, shot across the opposite side with a huge hit by thumpKIN, and it is just getting completely dominated. But you have to be careful. thumpKIN can easily hit itself out of the arena at any time, so this fight won't be over unless the countdown is over. And just like that, thumpKIN almost hit out of the arena because of its own self, and now we are getting a countdown. Is hellspawn dead? 5 seconds left on this. 2, 1. hellspawn is knocked out. It might be a TKO victory, but thumpKIN will move on into the next round with an amazing performance. It was a little scary at first, I will admit. hellspawn looked good, but then that's where everything changed. hellspawn got flipped upside down and then almost out of the arena. I don't know how it survived that hit, but it was just getting completely chewed up by thumpKIN. And thumpKIN looked really good in this entire fight. just picking off different pieces, which made it win. And I'm actually very curious to see how this robot performs in future fights. And with a fantastic performance, thumpKIN will move on into the second round, where it'll face the victor between the Doctor and Two-Isle Reaper. A lot of really good robots are moving on into this second round, which we are beginning to get a really good pool of the final 8 robots. We have 3 currently that are moving on into the next round, and thumpKIN might be one of the best so far that we have seen, especially at a number 7 seed. It is always nice to see when a robot is doing well, which, by the way, no upsets so far, which is kind of worrisome for the underdogs at least. I am very curious to see how thumpKIN is going to perform against if the Doctor wins. It is going to be one of the favorites in the tournament thus far, and thumpKIN has a very difficult matchup against it if the Doctor wins. For our final fight of the night, we have 2 vertical spinners going head to head. 8-Bit Terror will take on Cemetery in a fight that should be very exciting for everybody watching. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the final fight in this episode. We have Cemetery taking on 8-Bit Terror, the 6th seed versus the 11th seed. I am very excited for this fight because both robots look amazing. Fighting out of the red square, we have 8-Bit Terror, a drum spinning robot that is freaking amazing. It has amazing armor, and it is very hard to pick apart when any robot is going up against it. It will be fighting Cemetery, a robot that is quite the opposite actually. The weapon deals a lot of damage, but the armor is questionable. This fight is going to be 2 different opposites coming together, and let's see who wins. 3, 2, 1, let this final match begin between Cemetery and 8-Bit Terror, and immediately 8-Bit Terror flips over Cemetery and is chewing off a bunch of pieces and is now pinned against the wall. Cemetery on its heels immediately, and now a wheel comes off of 8-Bit Terror. Especially in a robot that only has 2 wheels. It's a 2-wheel drive. It cannot drive normal at all for the remainder of the fight, and we still have 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in this fight. It cannot drive straight, it cannot turn properly, and now Cemetery's on the attack, pushing it against the wall, hitting it into the wall actually, and now a tale of events have turned. Cemetery causing a lot of damage to the side, flipping 8-Bit Terror over multiple times. It started out with 8-Bit Terror doing a lot of damage, but now Cemetery is being aggressive now that it knows it only has 1 wheel left. Both robots are meeting in the middle of the arena right now, doing weapon on weapon, which in my opinion, that will favor Cemetery all day. But what can 8-Bit Terror do in order to win this fight? Because it doesn't have that wheel left, it can only turn right. That's all it can do really right now. And it is trying its best to get an angle while Cemetery flips it over with a huge hit and 1 more. And now, both robots are very damaged in this fight, and we still have half of the fight remaining. If this goes to the judge's decision, this is prime real estate for robots to see how the weaknesses of either robot are going to be, because both robots have lost significant items that they possess. A minute left in this fight, and it seems like this fight is really close on paper. This might come down to the final minute, and 8-Bit Terror goes flying against the wall from a huge hit by Cemetery. They're meeting again at the middle, doing weapon on weapon, but what can 8-Bit Terror do with 40 seconds left in this fight to make a stance to say that, hey, I deserve to be in the second round of this tournament? Nothing really significant happening right now. While both robots are completely damaged, 8-Bit Terror gets hit against the wall, and now it is wedged up on its own wheel with Cemetery pushing it off. Cemetery is in control of this final minute. I would be surprised to see if anything else happens in this fight. almost flips itself over actually, which is not what you want to see, and now they're both wedged up against each other. 5 seconds left in this fight, and we are looking to go to a judge's decision. What a fantastic fight. That was very back and forth. 8-Bit Terror looked really good. Cemetery looked really good as well. Very first 30 seconds of the fight, 8-Bit Terror chewed apart Cemetery. I honestly thought that was over right here. This is where I thought the fight would end, but somehow Cemetery hits off a wheel. As you can see, it comes off, and that's where everything changed. 8-Bit Terror was on its heels the entire remaining of the fight, and Cemetery kept the pressure, kept doing damage, kept control, and I think that this is going to be a very close judge's decision, but we're gonna have to see. A huge hit right here that sends Cemetery against the wall, and I think that's where everything changed. I think that's where Cemetery won the fight actually, based off of that singular hit. And let's see who wins. While we wait for the judges to make their decision, let's take a look at the statistics of this fantastic fight. Very back and forth in my opinion, but we're gonna have to see what happens minute by minute. Remember, that's what the judges are looking for. They don't go based off of the entirety of the fight. They judge based off of each minute individually. In minute number 1, Cemetery had more strikes, but 8-Bit Terror had more significant strikes and more pins. In minute number 2, it was almost dead even, but that's where Cemetery's momentum got shifted in favor of itself. And the final minute, minute number 3, I think that has to go towards Cemetery. Based off the statistics, this fight is going to be judged very closely, but I am also getting word that the judge's decision is in, so let's see who wins. Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 minutes, we go to the judges' scorecards for their decisions. All 3 judges scored this contest 29-28 for the winner by unanimous decision, Cemetery. And with the decision being read, Cemetery will be the final robot to move on into the second round in this episode. A very close fight on paper, and I am honestly very sad that 8-Bit Terror had to be removed from this tournament so quickly because I really enjoyed its presence. But Cemetery deserved the win and is moving on into the next round where it'll fight the winner of Sin and Reaper. Either way, both robots, whoever wins that fight, will have a very tough matchup when it goes up against Cemetery, because Cemetery, it may be a glass cannon, but it is very powerful. And with all that being over, we have 4 fights left to finish up the round number 1, where round number 2 will be completely finished afterwards. Some exciting matchups in the future, and I cannot wait for them, but we're gonna have to wait 1 more week to see who wins those fights. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this episode of RoboMania, the Halloween event. We have 4 robots that are already made their statement and that are already moved on into round number 2, where 4 robots await to move on into round 2 to join them. In the next episode, we have 4 different fights, 8 different robots that are all ready to move on out of the first round, where 4 will be eliminated. My name is Soy, and I hope to see you all next time on RoboMania, the Halloween event.